You mentioned that G2 lane. That's where I'm looking. I'm looking at Mithy. I mean, he had a terrific run in the summer playoffs on Alistair, Morgana, pretty much any champion he was playing. He's just so involved with his team, and the team basically, their whole play runs through him. One of few guys to bring three different teams to Worlds. Yes. Lemon Dogs, Origin, and G2. And you've seen in a lot of the communication and just the pre-game, post-game stuff, some of the G2 features, he's so vocal with his team, just keeping them up. He's going to be key. G2 is another team that might tilt if they lose a couple games early or lose a game that they're winning, a come-from-behind loss. I think Mithy's going to be key for them to keep them on track because, again, this group is pretty nuts. You don't have much room for mistakes, and he does it outside of the game, so vocal for them. And in-game, he'll completely carry a team fight for you, just like he did against Splice. He had a couple of these moments against Misfits too, but this one, I can't watch enough.
Yeah, and this is in a crucial Game 5 where you couldn't have a bigger moment than forcing Senkux to not be able to get an Orianna ult off that could completely turn the tides of this Baron fight. So, I mean, he comes up when it matters the most. He roams the map and makes plays, but he also just plays team fights absolutely perfectly because of that Alistar. So, if he gets that champion, I think he played it 5 out of 11 games in the EULCS playoffs, so it's definitely a go-to pick in that Sivir comp that G2 likes to run when they get a chance to use it. But he can also pull off Morgana and has those crucial spell shields as well, which also came up huge in the G2 finals against Misfits. So you're right, Mithy is definitely a guy who can turn the tides for G2 if he keeps in the right mind state.
Yeah, and he's just so good at keeping Sven safe. We know he likes to play those hyper carries like a guy like Kog'Maw or the Sivir who just does insane damage with those ricochets late game. Yeah. And yeah, he just, depending on what he knows, if Sven's the main carry, he's going to stick with him the whole fight and just keep him safe, make sure he's able to output damage. Or if he's on something like the Alistair and he knows the main threat is on the opposing team, just zone them out of the fight. They can't do anything. I mean, he is just the key cog for G2, I feel like, with how their vision runs through him, obviously, and just kind of how they play around the map, engages and stuff like that. And I'm excited to see him. He's been great lately.
Yes. I mean, that bot lane really is the constant of G2, where Perkz, yeah, he had a great finals and a great playoffs, but that's not always what you see out of Perkz. So if he can bring that to Worlds, that's great, but he could also, have another weak performance we've seen in the past. Trick, game in, game out, you don't know what to expect. And Expect has been better as of late with his consistency issues, but still, that bot lane, you usually know what you're going to get, which is pretty stellar play across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And quick shout out, Perkz is another guy we're going to be looking for, mainly because he tweeted out easy 6-0 with that group.
Oh, super easy.
Of course he's kidding, but it's still hilarious. A team that's not getting much, praise or not really getting looked at is FlashWolves. A lot of people, I think both of us included, think they're the weakest team from Pool 1 heading into this tournament. But a guy who's fantastic on that team and has been for many years is SwordArt, and he's pretty much the main leader of that team and a guy to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around basically for as long as FlashWolves has. Yep. Yeah, eternity. Sure, you got Karsa, you got Maple, 2 other guys with the FlashWolves, but SwordArt's just someone who kind of flies under the radar, but is still such a huge playmaker for what the FlashWolves tries to do. I mean, in their 3-0 finals, he kept pulling out Blitzcrank and Thresh, these huge playmakers. Right now, he loves the hook champions, which is always dangerous on a team that likes to get going and snowball. Whenever you have a guy like SwordArt on those playmaking supports, there's always something that can happen. The one thing that I'm kind of concerned about is his warding. Only 1.3 wards per minute, which is kind of low when you look at compared to other supports. Guys like Adrian were around like 1.8 in the past split, which is on the high end, but still keeping FlashWolves' vision up is hugely important, especially when you're trying to get these pick plays off with SwordArt. But even at Rift Rivals,
blind hooks.
Yeah,
gotta hit those.
Even at Rift Rivals, he was showing off his Blitzcrank a little bit, making plays happen. So just a sign of things to look out for. One way that FlashWolves can get things going is the SwordArt Karsa synergy, which it's shown at past Worlds as well. Yeah,
and SwordArt, a guy, he's been, his story's been looked at, he's been covered all over these times going to Worlds. And again, FlashWolves, a team that has had a pretty consistent roster throughout their 3 World Championship appearances, so you know that they've definitely built up some synergy. They have dominated the MLS for years now. It hasn't, AHQ's been a pretty consistent second, but I feel like FlashWolves, they've definitely been the class of that region for a couple of years now. So it's going to be very interesting. And again, people are pretty much discounting them. I feel like they're kind of in that group with TSM. They're not even the favorites as the Pool 1 seed. I think people are looking at TSM. And again, if World Elite gets in there. But it'll be interesting to see what they can do.